talk about having to go against the best to prove you belong with the best, that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to be playing playoff teams for their playoff lives. And it's going to be a real question of whether or not this offense perks up to carry them.
Derrick Goold from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch joining us right now to talk a little bit about the St. Louis Cardinals. Derrick, great to have you back on. I'm going to hit you with, a heavy hitter right off the top here. So I saw some chatter in social media. Exactly. You know me. I'm not just going to be like, hey, how you doing? How's life? I want to know, do the St. Louis Cardinals have a clear-cut identity and an edge this year that could convince you they're going to be a playoff team and maybe even a pain to deal with in a postseason series?
That is a great question. And that's come up quite a bit. What is the identity of this team? That's both come up from the fans, from the media, but also from the team itself, right? They went out this winter and said that they wanted to add some veteran edge. Lance Lynn, who you guys know well, is a frequent guest on your show and brings his edge right to any question you ask. But they also wanted to add guys like Matt Carpenter. And then during the spring, they added Brandon Crawford. And they talked about okay, part of the identity of this team is going to be this veteran group that knows how to get through a long season, that knows the ups and downs of it, that has had success in October. And then also, mix that with some young upstart players, one of whom has really stood out in Mason Wynn, and another who carried the offense there for a while in Alec Burleson. So that was the identity that they wanted, was both the kind of competitive edge and grit and force out of the veteran starters like Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, and of course Sonny Gray, and then that mix. Has it all come together, I think, is the next part of your question. And it really hasn't meshed. I mean, look, they've had their identity is resilient for sure. I mean, they got off to such a difficult start and were playing some unfamiliar baseball. The offense really struggled. The weight was really on the bullpen. And so the bullpen emerged as kind of the defining characteristic. So it hasn't been the identity they expected as far as leading them to wins, but it's been the identity, that veteran kind of balance that they needed to get through more rocky times than they wanted. If that answers your question.
It makes sense. It makes sense with it, because last year I think they wilted obviously pretty quickly, and then they never recovered. So at least this year they bounced back. Now They made the moves. They brought in Lynn, all the guys you mentioned. But what I wonder is it still enough? Is it going to be enough? Because they got right there, and now they're almost falling back to 500. Yes, they went out and got Tommy Pham. Eric Fedde didn't pitch great his first start. Lynn's on the IL, right? Arenado still is kind of struggling from where he was. Goldschmidt's picked it up. But, do they still have enough, or could John Mozeliak have done more? Because it still seems, if you look at it from an outsider, it still looks like they might be a little bit short.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is they could always do more, and they could have done a higher impact move, or they could have gone and tried. I mean, I'm not sure how many of those starters were available that radically would have changed the rotation more. You go, all right, this is the number one guy. This is the game one starter for the playoffs, right? How many of those guys moved? They targeted Fedde pretty early on. They liked what he brought. They saw him as a guy who could really help the rotation and has more upside to him. When you think about the offense has struggled, but what do you add that is going to pick up where the guys that they need, the guys that they count on to be the nucleus, they need production from those guys. You're not going to move them aside. You're not going to adjust. You might adjust the lineup, but you're not going to replace any of those guys. You just need more from them. I think it's interesting, AJ, that you mentioned that, because that comes up not just this year, but that's kind of the tagline of the Cardinals. I know, you guys know Mike Farron really well, and he and I got to talking about this a few years ago, that was kind of the perception of the Cardinals, is they just come one step shy of going the distance. They put together a good team that's going to compete, but they do the one move shy of being the favorite. They kind of want to be the team that, has everything in line so that it surprises people if everything goes right, and they just don't make that next move. They're very conservative in that regard, and it's part of the risk management. And they'll say it's their model. Last year caught up with them. They didn't do that one extra move. They didn't really do the one move that they needed for the pitching, and it all cratered on them. This year, I think to your point, you might be looking back at like what could they do offensively, or if they do get into the playoffs, what upgrade could they have made to the rotation, maybe even ahead of the trade deadline that would change the look of a playoff. You guys are right. I'm not sure that they know who they are going into the playoff, except for they're going to count on trying to get hot to get in, and then hope that that's what guides them through.
Makes sense. It makes sense. You have to be proud, though, of what John Mozeliak did to get Pham and Fedde, because he didn't give up
No,
anything, really. I mean,
no.
how did he pull this off? Because he gave up. Listen, Tommy Edman is a nice player, but he hasn't played one inning for the Cardinals this year, and that was what he gave up. And he got two bona fide big league players back to bolster their playoff hopes.
Yeah, and he expanded the deal too after knowing that the Dodgers wanted Tommy Edman, and they knew that they could get that deal done where the White Sox would be the go-between, because the Cardinals didn't want to deal directly with the Dodgers that weren't interested in what they had to offer, but they were very much interested in adding Fedde, and the White Sox wanted to get the prospects from the Dodgers. And so when all that was in place with the White Sox as the go-between, and quick aside, Fedde actually got the last win that the White Sox had. So that tells you, I know you guys were talking about how long ago it was, but that kind of puts in perspective how long it's been since the White Sox won, that he might get a win for the Cardinals before they get their next win since he won for them. But they then had that deal in place, and Mosaic wanted to expand it to Pham. And what does it take to get that done? And the Cardinals did not still at that point add anything in the deal that goes to the White Sox. And they come out of it with cash, potential of a player to be named later, and the pitcher that they wanted, and the right-handed outfielder that they wanted. So, how he got that price down was a lot of leveraging the Dodgers' interest in Tommy Edman, and then capitalizing on the White Sox interest in the Dodgers players. And that meant the Cardinals got to maximize what those teams wanted from each other and really move on without, losing any player that they had been counting on here for the first months of this season because of Edman's injury.
What was the word after that trade was pulled off because they were able to, accomplish so much in one deal? Did they kind of jump and cheer? I mean, I know Tommy Edman obviously holds some weight within the organization, but it's easier to say goodbye when A, the player hasn't played yet this year, so there's injury risk, and B, they had guys to an extent in his spot. I know he can play basically anywhere, but was there jubilation? Because usually to pull off a deal like that, you have to give up a pretty high level prospect that might end up really costing you. And also on the topic of cost, I think Tommy Edman's like a $10 million player probably heading into next season, and that's not nothing for the Cardinals.
Right. No, and they signed him to a 2-year deal after he had the wrist surgery, and they locked him in, and they advertised him as their starting center fielder. And then they didn't quite know if he would, when he returned, would he be the starting center fielder, given how Michael Ciani has played. Now, obviously, Ciani is injured, so the equation has changed, but they didn't know that at the time. Was there jubilation? No. I mean, look, like Tommy Edman is a huge part of the kind of the culture, and he really personifies in a lot of ways what the Cardinals want to be, right? They like their versatile players. They like their versatile infielders. They like their guys who are exceptional defensively. And you look at a lot of what, the advanced metrics and what the overall kind of value look of what Edman brings to the game and how much of that is defensive. He's got a Gold Glove for infield play. He probably, if healthy this year or maybe healthy next year, he probably could win a Gold Glove if they start him in center field out there. He's really gifted defensively and builds up a lot of value that way. And the Cardinals like that. They want to be a strong defensive club. So no, there wasn't really jubilation. There was a sly grin when they saw the price of some of the other pitchers going. You look at what Astros paid to get Kikuchi, and Fedde is he's signed through next year. So, and if he pitches like he has been for the White Sox, if he pitches like that for the Cardinals for the remainder of this year and then next year, that is such a market friendly price too. I mean, they essentially would get like maybe a guy who'd be a really robust number 3 at a contract, which really fits into allowing them to do other things. And they got it by moving a contract that was going to cost them more next year. it really was a deal that got them happy. But jubilant, no. A smirk or sly grin or a poker player, I got you. Definitely, that was definitely the kind of facial expression if you want one.
Big shout out to America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh, for helping us eat good during this busy time of the year for us. With HelloFresh, you get pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. It's home cooking made easy, fun, and affordable.
HelloFresh makes it easy, even for picky eaters like Scott. There's a changing menu of 50 recipes to choose from each week. Customize it to fit your taste. There's protein and veggie swap options too. The recipes are easy to follow. Just choose your delivery day, open your box, cook, and eat.
My house is busy with sports, but family dinners are important. My fam eats better, healthier, and we cook so much easier with HelloFresh.
And for a limited time, kids eat free. Go to HelloFresh.com/FTKids to unlock this exclusive offer. 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months while subscription is active. That's free kids meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/FTKids.
There's no concern with any regression for Fedde, right? There's just that kind of an outlier, getting accustomed to a new team, right? Getting a new environment and everything like that. A winning environment right now would be a different way to there's no concerns from the team or anything like that. They didn't see anything in this first start.
No, I mean, look, he settled in after a really rocky inning. He had a really rocky inning where the pitch that he needed most was misbehaving, and you guys know what that's like. Yeah. I mean, if the cutter starts misbehaving, it's a high risk pitch then, and the Cubs took advantage. He settled in. Some of it he said he really wanted to make a first impression. Strong first impression. You're right. I mean, look, he's in a pennant race, a playoff race, I guess we call it now, not pennant races anymore. I need to adjust my phrasing. I need to update, I guess, a playoff race. And, he said, I wanted a lot, I wanted to impress a lot. And he said, you can't dismiss that, as far as like being jumpy a little bit and trying to overdo it. But also trying to find a way without his best pitch. So no, there's not like some, moment. There's a lot of excitement, and they're really intrigued in what he could do, with their strong defense behind him, with, you're right, the different kind of clubhouse, a lot at stake. They're real eager, and this goes back. I mean, they saw what he was doing when he came back. They saw actually what he was doing overseas and looked into signing him as a free agent. And the White Sox did, because the Cardinals did the moves that we talked about earlier. But they were really intrigued. They thought even then, like, what could he do with this group at this ballpark, with this defense, all of that. And so they're encouraged. I mean, they're optimistic about how his fit. They're not set back at all by how his debut went.
Yeah, going to get these. Oh, go, Scott.
No, that's AJ. Kip, you go. You got one more.
Just with you said with the excitement of getting these guys, I was trying to bring up the schedule real fast. I couldn't, off the top of your head, by any chance, do you know how many games you guys have against Milwaukee still, or 6 games left? Okay, it's a good amount to go get them.
Yeah.
You want that excitement from the trade deadline. That's what you want when you're in it. You want your team to go make those moves that do that. I know getting guys like Pham and someone who hits is always exciting. The clubhouse guys, I was trying to think of how many people are left over from when he was there before. To where
Lance Lynn and Matt Carpenter are back for an encore.
Yeah,
they're getting everybody back together.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering. I think that then Carpenter's the best guy for that to lead the way with Nolan and all these other guys and Lynn and these other guys. So perfect. So it should be a fun race. And if you have 6 games left, then that gives you ample time to do what you guys need to do.
Yeah, the schedule is going to be a real factor here, and I'm glad you brought up. It's not just the Brewers, right? 28 of the next 31. Let me rephrase that. Going into yesterday's game against the Mets, 28 of 31 were against winning teams. Most of those games were against first or second place teams. All of those 28 were against teams ahead of them in the standings, right? And I'm including American League games in there, right? Like they got Tampa Bay and they got the Yankees in there, and they got a bunch in there. But they have 22 consecutive games against winning teams in that mix, right in the heart of that. So it's bookended by a series against the Reds, but 22 consecutive. You talk about having to go against the best to prove you belong with the best. That's what they're going to have to do. They're going to be playing playoff teams for their playoff lives, and it's going to be a real question of whether or not this offense perks up after its Wrigley hibernation to carry them.
All right. Before we let you go, Derek, I have like 3 questions you can quick hit on them for me. One, what have you done to your dog that won't stop yapping? Like, have you not fed your
I
dog
know.
this
I'm
morning? I
sorry
don't
about that.
understand.
No, she
Wow.
wants attention. I know. I thought,
Let
all
her
right,
out.
she's going to enjoy the sun and everything, but no, she wants attention. I miscalculated on that part. So sorry about
Okay.
that.
We're dog lovers. You could just hold your dog on your lap while you do
I
that.
could go get her. I could go get Marvel. She
No.
loves attention.
Okay. Kind of like Derrick Goold when he writes one of his columns. We get it. It's
That's right.
cool.
Yeah. No,
All right.
good.
Well, and then I have to ask these real quick. Is Dylan Carlson the next big outfielder to go for the Cardinals because he's just been disappointing?
Dylan Carlson, you say?
Yeah.
Like, is he the one to take off with another team?
No. Meaning, like, is he going to be the next one we see? Because Edman and some of these other guys they've counted on, like, have kind of started to go by the wayside now.
Oh, I mean, we'll see what he does this week. I mean, he's here in town now with Tampa Bay, playing against the Cardinals, and we'll see what he does. He already has a home run, there for the Rays, and I think I think it'll be really interesting what he does with more opportunity. That's the story, right? You want to talk about Juan Yepez, the first baseman with the Nationals, and all he's doing, or Lane Thomas and what he did with the Nationals. The Cardinals again and again and again are seeing these guys blossom elsewhere when they get more opportunity to play. And the Cardinals just didn't have that for him. The Cardinals didn't have that for Dylan Carlson. He'd be the starting center fielder now because of injury. But I'm real eager to see what he does. I mean, switch hitter, a guy who really didn't have a role and kind of knew it here, but now has a place, fresh start. I'm eager to see what he does. There'll be a lot of attention on him with them coming right back, the boomerang, bringing him right back into Busch Stadium to play against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I meant like Randy Rosarena. Sorry,
Yeah. Like, you're good. I know what you mean.
misspoke. Yeah, you know what I meant. They give up on their outfitters and they go somewhere, and then all of a sudden you have all these guys, boom, that are like, oh wow, man, the Cardinals maybe should have kept them. So
I think he might be. No, it's cool. I think he might be.
Yeah, you answered it the correct way. And then my last thing before we let you go is Jordan Walker. Are we ever going to see him again? Is he a piece of the future? Or has he lost his opportunity to become like the next great Cardinal?
And not lost the opportunity. No. Now, when's the future, right? Like, they had an opening on the roster here with Michael Ciani's oblique strain. They definitely have a need for a right-handed bat of some type because Tommy Pham has been in the lineup so much. So that means the bench is without the right-handed bat. And Jordan and Luken Baker, but Jordan specifically, since you asked about him, did not get the return. He's on a real hot spell right now, and what he's doing more consistently over the past week plus, there is a lot of what they've looked for him to do consistently. That's a trend. Those are like results that are paying off for all the work that he's doing away from the video, away from the game, with the coaches and the cages, all that stuff. And so there is a definite uptick there with production starting to reflect the changes in the work. That puts him on track to return. And, I asked Mozeliak that exact question. I was like, look, the trade deadline has come and gone. You added Pham. Where's the future for Jordan Walker with this team? And he said there is one. When there's a lot of playing time, they'll move him up. He needs to play. But he didn't put like a timetable on that. Now, does the need bring him back quicker? We'll see. If they continue to struggle against lefties, this is something that they're going to have to face. If he continues to hit like he has here recently, he might force the issue. But if you expand the future to not just this year, but next year, yes, I mean, he is part of their plans in a lot of ways. They've put time in to unlock more power from him so that they get to take advantage of that, not see him go off and become the next ALCS MVP for another team when they trade him.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's one they'd be very worried about, much more so than Dylan. I mean, I don't think Dylan's ceiling is all-star. I think it's more he could be a nice regular player. Like Jordan Walker has the ceiling. It might not be reached, but he's 22 years old, so good call.
Don't sell the Rays short. They do this with everybody.
True.
I mean, Palacios is there too. The Cardinals traded him, and he did well when he was healthy for them, so it happens.
They might want to just not give the Rays their outfielders anymore, just for a little bit. If Carlson takes off, we'll see. Derek, great talking to you.
This time around, they like getting Kittredge back, so that's worked out well for them.
Yeah. Hey, you get your returns, all right? Yeah, the Rays have been scrapping it down lately to build it back up. Derek, great talking to you. Tell the pup we said what's up. Give the pup all the love. And give Derrick a follow at D Goold and read his work in the St. Louis Post.
Hey, tell Carpenter Just for Men will work wonders for that gray. Okay, I don't use it. He needs it. Tell him I said that.
I will pass that along to him today from you.
Yes.
Perfect.
Appreciate you.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.